Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4, exploring today's topics on Spotlight Issues. And today on Spotlight Issues, specifically, we're going to take a look at our local food pantry. What are the needs of the food pantry in the area, who it serves, what types of things they need. And to do that, we're at the Palos United Methodist Church.
Yes.
Speaking with Susan Greer, who's the head of the food pantry
Correct.
operation here. Good. And, you know, before we get started in that, you know, food pantries provide a critical service. You know, people in need, you know, need help in a way that this can alleviate some of the stress and burden in their lives.
Correct.
And especially in times like this, I would imagine the hardship is even harder. This operation becomes that much more important, you know.
Yes.
So we want to talk about those things. Maybe before we take a look at what the operation collects and what it donates, how about a little bit about you, Susan? Like, how long have you been doing this? You know, what's your role in the process?
Okay, I've been doing this for 8 years. I retired in 2008. I was a registered dietitian for the county. And so I started to volunteer. And then the director at that time got a full-time job. So she could no longer do this. And so I just read all the rules and regulations and what I was supposed to do, and I thought, oh no, I can't do this. Well, everyone convinced me to do it, so I am glad that I am doing it. It's sometimes more work than you think, but it's rewarding. I've gotten to know these clients very well. Because we've had the same ones coming back for 8 years plus.
Well, I would think, based on the amount of goods you have stored that I saw earlier, that, I mean, this is quite an operation. You know, the people that you're serving, there's a lot happening here. You need a lot of help to make this happen. I did want to, one thing you said that I wanted to ask about, when you looked at the rules and regulations, and you were like, oh gosh, I don't know if I want to do this.
Correct.
Right? Where do those come from? Is that from a larger organization, or is that from?
No, that was from, the pantry used to be at the United Methodist Church of Worth.
Oh, okay.
That's where it originated in 1979. So through the years, they have gotten outside organizations to host food drives and such. They would do it around Halloween, at different times of the year. So I had to make those phone calls to see if those organizations were still going to do their service. Meetings at the Chicago Food Depository, paperwork, as every place has for the monthly counts and such.
Okay. So then the operation moved here.
Yes, because the Worth Church closed.
Okay.
And they merged with us.
Okay.
And we could not find another suitable place to hold the pantry.
I gotcha. And so you said that it was started in '79, so this has been happening for 42 years.
Correct.
So then, but then, you know, we've kind of talked about indirectly, you had this, and yet based on the amount of, you know, items you collect and distribute, you've got to have assistance, right?
Oh, definitely.
So who's helping you, and what types of jobs do they do in the process?
I have probably 10 volunteers for our Monday. That's when we get our deliveries. Every other Monday, we get 2 trucks delivering food. The other Mondays, it's just 1 truck. Tuesday morning is when we distribute the food to the clients. So I have 10 volunteers in the morning and 10 in the afternoon.
Okay. Okay.
So we're well covered with volunteers right now.
Right. Well, to collect and distribute that, yeah, that's going to take a lot of manpower.
Right.
That's quite a job. So you kind of, you know, your response there kind of brings us into this next part really good. So, and as a matter of fact, somebody asked me about this when I mentioned that. I donated to on behalf of my mother's birthday, she wanted me to make a donation, so that's what we did
Okay.
for her birthday this year. And one of the questions she asked was, well, who do they serve? Who gets the food that's served out of this area, or out of
Okay.
this pantry?
Typically, we do have boundaries. 79th Street, south to 135th, LaGrange Road, east to Cicero.
Oh, okay.
But during this pandemic, we will serve anyone who comes.
Okay.
We don't distinguish for the boundaries. And they're
Right.
supposed to come twice a month. But we also have not stayed with that restriction.
Okay. Right. You're saying like there's a lot of need right now.
Yes.
Okay. And so I can picture the boundary you're talking about. Sounds like, Palos Park, Palos Hills, Worth. Trying to think.
Hickory Hills,
Hickory Hills.
Part of Oak Lawn, Burbank,
Right.
a little bit of Justice.
Palos Heights now, and obviously our community. Now, if they're outside that, I take it there's other food depositories they would go to or access.
They're not called
Sure.
food depositories, they're called food banks, or
Okay.
excuse me, that's even wrong. They're called food pantries
Okay.
because we get our food from the Chicago Food Depository,
Okay.
which is a food bank.
So that, and I wanted to ask about that when you mentioned that. So, like talking about, we made a donation, for my mother for her birthday. My wife and I have, dropped off items here, but we're private, making our own little donation.
Yes.
You also get donations from the Greater Food. Is that what you said? The Greater Chicago Food Depository.
The Greater Chicago Food Depository has a specific number of foods that they give automatically. We have no choice because we're part of their system. And these are USDA foods.
Okay.
So it's a lot of dried beans, peanut butter, juice, meats.
So if somebody made a monetary donation, or they
Yes.
made a donation to that organization, that's how they purchase foods.
Correct.
Okay, do you have to donate money to them, or do you send the donation, a financial donation to them?
Right now, during the pandemic, everything we get from them is free. Every other week, I place an order with the food depository. They have a list of extra foods that I can get. We used to pay for that.
Okay.
It was like 7 cents a pound, very inexpensive. And but during the pandemic, all the costs have been alleviated, and so we pay nothing for extra foods.
Okay, all right. So let's go back and maybe finish this. So he kind of gives the boundaries that this food pantry is serving.
Correct.
How is it determined who qualifies for a food pantry?
Well, if we are using our boundaries, we check with either a piece of mail with their name and address on, or we'll see their driver's license.
Okay.
They also have to fall within an income guideline, which is set up by the government,
The state government?
federal.
Federal government, okay.
So for instance, if you are a family of one, which we do have a lot of single, you cannot make over $1,850 a month.
Okay.
And then of course that goes up. We do have some families that have 8 or more in their household, and they cannot make over $6,370 a month.
So if a person, let's say, I'm going to do a really sad scenario here, but let's say a person loses their job, okay, and they've temporarily got no income. How would they, is there paperwork they'd have to fill out to make sure they qualify so that they could then say, yes, I qualify and I need help?
Okay, we do not look at any income at all.
Okay.
It's just your honesty.
Right, okay. I was going to say, because I'm imagining, I could see where that would be difficult for a person. Like, I'm already in hardship.
Yes.
And you know, you're going to make me, you know,
Correct.
go down that road. I could see where that would be very
Right, yeah,
very
we
hard.
do not check income at all. And the new person who does come to us, you can tell that they're embarrassed.
Sure. This is not how they want to live.
And they really don't know what to expect. But before the pandemic, we would see these people regularly.
Right.
And so they get to know all the volunteers.
I would
It's
think-
more like a family.
I was going to say, at that point, it's got to help, because it does feel more, you know, family-like.
Yes.
Less like I'm an outsider who's desperately, you know,
Correct.
for help. You know, there's
Correct.
a family feel. And regardless, somebody needs help. The community is in a position to help, and we should come together that way.
Definitely.
Right? And if they get to know you, that makes it easier to function in that role.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So then, we've kind of talked, I don't know if it was you and I talking beforehand or you mentioned it, you said this pantry serves about 80 to 90 families? Okay.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, okay.
Okay.
And you mentioned some of the things that you distribute, because that was the other thing, you know, like, well, what should we give them? I've heard that question before, what should we
Right.
donate or drop out? So I know on your website, which, you know, viewers can find at the Palos United Methodist Church website, and there's a thing for the food pantry
Yes.
they can look at. So I'll read down this real quick, and if there's other things. Non-perishables, you know, we're talking about canned vegetables, spaghettis, pastas, things like that.
Correct.
But you also, well, before we even talk about the or the personal care items, what other food items can people bring in, or would you encourage them to bring in?
Lately, we always need canned vegetables.
Okay.
For some reason, we're not getting them from the depository.
Okay.
And people like their canned green beans and corn
Sure.
and whatever else that we can offer. So
So that's a big priority right now.
that's a big priority.
Okay.
They like, of course, their canned fruit.
Okay.
They really love the name brand cereals,
Right.
because we get cereal from the depository, but it's like an off-brand.
Right. Right.
Instead of Cheerios, they're called O's.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I've tried, and not that they're bad, but yeah, sometimes they just don't taste like the other ones.
Correct.
Right. No,
Correct.
I get that. So food items, the canned items, it sounds like are really important. Name brand cereals would be really nice. Any other food items that you?
Not particularly.
Okay, but as you started to mention, we started to talk about, you do hand out more than just food items. You can also, the way they're listed on the website, personal care items. We're talking about shampoo, toothpaste, feminine hygiene products, deodorant, soap, bar soap, toilet paper.
Yes.
Those type of things.
Yes.
Any other personal care items?
Recently, we've had people ask for laundry detergent.
Oh, okay.
We forget that the prices have gone up in the stores when you have to shop. And even if you go to the dollar store, $1 will get you laundry detergent, but it's a very small
You'll go
container.
through it very fast.
Right.
What
Right.
about, and now that I think about it, and one I want to ask about two. One is dish detergent, I would imagine. Is there a need for that or no?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
But the other one I was going to ask about was, only because of the pandemic, and I have one in my car, is like the hand wipes, you know?
No one has asked for them,
Okay.
and as you know, they're very hard to get.
Yeah. I'm starting to see them on shelves again. You're right.
Yes.
You know, but they're starting to show up again. So maybe not on that. Hand sanitizer.
That wouldn't be a bad idea in a smaller container
Right.
that they can carry with them or have in their car.
Okay. So we've talked about like food items, personal care items, things they might have around the house. That kind of brings me to the next question. All right, if I'm somebody who wants to donate, how do I do that? Where and when can I bring
Okay,
something in?
we do have a cabinet outside on the east side of the church. that if there is no one at church, you can open that and put your donations in there. You just have to turn the handle up to the side. It's very unusual, but so you can leave products in there.
That's almost any time. Is that-
Anytime.
Okay.
You can also come on a Monday, preferably between 9 and noon, and there is always someone here, or Tuesdays between 9 and 11 or 4 to 6.
Okay. All right, good. So bag it up or box it up, open the pantry, or open the cabinet, leave
Correct.
it in there, and they're good.
Correct.
Okay, good.
If they want to make a monetary donation, the check should be written to the Palos United Methodist Church,
Okay,
and in the memo, put down food pantry.
okay. And where would they leave that?
They could either mail it, they could drop it off on the days that I said before, Monday or Tuesday, or I believe that there is a slot in our mailbox that they can slip it in.
Okay. And that's probably a very good donation too. I mean, in some ways, because then it gives you a chance to purchase items from the
Correct.
depository.
Correct.
That you know specifically what things you need and you can target those.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, well, we'll mention that. So the Palos United Methodist Church in Palos Heights, you know, you can mail a check there. Make sure you put food pantry in the memo line. You know, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit, and when we come back to some of the items you need. So the pantry's been operating for 42 years. Right now, you're operating during a pandemic. You've talked about need, how you are taking people who are kind of outside that boundary. You know.
Yes.
And it sounds like you've been doing it for several years too.
Correct.
How does now compare, like over that time period? Would you say is this the most demand that's been put on the pantry?
Well, when I first started, when the pantry was in Worth, and that would have been in '08, we were seeing 100 families in our morning distribution and 100 families in the afternoon.
Okay.
We're down now to like 70 to 90 families every Tuesday.
Okay.
I don't know why, but there's many pantries in the area that they can go to also.
So maybe people have more other ways to get assistance.
Correct.
How would you say, how does it compare to, like, let's say 2 years ago?
We're up,
You're up, though.
definitely, by at least 20 families.
Okay. So, right, 2 years ago, you're saying you might have had, what, 50 to 70 families?
Correct.
Now you're at 70 to 90. So, at least within the last few years, the pandemic has caused a
Yes.
greater need.
And I have seen more families from Palos Heights.
Okay. So, now that kind of leads me to my next question. In the last couple of years, the need has gone up. Have the donations been able to keep up, or is it only still working because the food depository is allowing you to?
I think a little of both.
Okay.
This summer, which is great because people don't think that people are hungry in the summer like they are around Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Right, right.
But we had a private citizen on Richards Avenue who put notice in her neighbors' mailboxes that she was collecting food. And so we got many, many boxes of food donation from that group of just private citizens. Then we had a woman who organized a food drive during the summer, and she got the city and the police involved in it. And so, what did she call that? Thankful Thursday, because I think that's what she called it. But the food, we picked up food from the rec department. It was like a drive-through. So people would bring their donation in the car. We had other volunteers there to take that food out. And that also gave us a wide variety of good food donation.
So it sounds like some food drives have kind of helped supplement your regular
Oh,
collection
definitely,
to kind of help you
definitely.
get through what's going
Yes.
on right now. That's a really interesting point you're bringing up, though, that, I feel like around Thanksgiving through Christmas and, even to the New Year's, I get a lot of, mailers asking for donations.
Yes.
And you're right, we associate like Thanksgiving and, a time of plenty and giving thanks and all the food and the holidays and, the same thing. And so there's extra attention on it. But the same need it exists now, and it's going to exist next week and the following week as well.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay.
We have even gotten some homeless people. Not as many as we used to, but they were either living in tents or at friends' houses, but they're considered their own household, let's say, because they're cooking only for themselves.
Right, right.
So they would come and pick up food items also. Maybe not as much as if you're living in a house, but now the homeless, most of them that we see are being housed in motel rooms.
Right, okay.
And they can cook there, at
And
least with a microwave or...
Right, and if they need, they could come to this food pantry and
Yes.
take it back to the, I got you. Okay. Okay, I think, is there, I feel like we've touched on if somebody needs, we've talked about that, they would come in. If somebody has need to use the food pantry, can they just come on that Tuesday? Do they need to call or email?
No,
or?
they can just come as long as, well, they can come even if they don't have ID.
Right, and what time frame on Tuesday?
On Tuesdays, 9 to 11,
Okay.
or 4 to 6.
Okay. So if somebody is in need of help from the food pantry, they can come at those 2 times on Tuesday. There's nothing they can do in between those, like once a week things, right?
They can go to other food pantries.
Okay.
They can, once the pandemic is over, our church is opened, then our secretary will be here full time.
Okay.
So they could stop in,
Okay.
and she could gather some food together and give it to them at that time.
Okay. But for right now, if somebody was in need of some assistance in that way, they should think, come in on a Tuesday.
Yes,
Preferably they've got something that shows their
ID.
Their ID,
Right.
where they're living. Okay. And are there any other recommendations you want to make, whether about either how to access it or other things that people should bring or not bring? I imagine you get items sometimes that, like, they donated this, but there's nothing we can do with this.
Well, it would be if they're cleaning out mom and dad's pantry because they have moved or passed
Right.
away, check the
Expiration
the
date?
dates because we will not give out food that is
Right, expired.
already expired.
Yeah. And, I'll mention, and I talked to you about this, I used some gift cards I had been given to buy coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, and I bought several bags. That's okay as a donation.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. We had gotten a lot of coffee within the last month, and so people were thrilled.
I was just saying, especially in the winter, in our winters, the way they can be, coffee. What about like boxes of tea, like the Lipton?
Oh,
100
perfect. Yes.
Okay, hot chocolate mix too, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm thinking those are some things that are not on the list. They're obviously not, I would say, as high priority as like vegetables or,
Correct.
the
correct.
staples.
But some of our people, because we give them a menu to circle the food that they want, they will write down if, they want coffee or dish detergent or Pampers if they have
Right,
babies.
some other thing, okay.
So if we have it, we'll give it.
And how about this? If I want to make a donation but I wasn't sure, I can email or call?
Yes.
Okay. If they want to email you, can we use you as an example? Who should they contact here?
They can call the church
Okay.
and leave a message,
Okay.
and then we'll get back
You
to
get back
them.
Okay, wonderful. Anything else you want to say about? Have we covered it all?
I think we have.
I think we have. Okay. Number one, thank you for doing the interview. I
Oh,
really
yes,
appreciate this.
my pleasure.
The service the work that you're doing here is wonderful. The community is very thankful for it. Good luck with it. I don't know if we can show enough appreciation for what you and the other
Thank you
volunteers
so
are
much.
doing. And so thanks again, Susan. I'm Dave Wurzall. You've been watching Spotlight Issues, and we've been talking about what you need to know about your local food pantry. Thank you for watching, and good luck in the new year.